Hey, I got it at the right time. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16 millimeter films, and that was a hit follow up, or a follow up to that hit, Urban Dwellers in the Temperate Climate. This was rural, oh boy, rural dwellers in temperate countries. Um, yeah, lots of farming footage there. Uh, so yeah, we watch old 16 millimeter films here, and sometimes we learn some things. Sometimes we see some things that are silly. I don't know if you noticed. There I am, right there. Thanks to the diorama that was created by the homeschool kids. You see, this is my face right there. I'm wearing a fireman's helmet. Anyways, uh, so yesterday we watched Fun with Words, and it was kind of whacked out. Besides the fact that it had the guy that was in later in Land of the Lost and countless TV shows, this one is equally just as weird. Fun with Words, Word Twins. Enjoy.
Here is a boy. I know many things about him that I want to let you know. You could find out all these things for yourself if you met this boy. But you don't have to. I'm going to let you know about him by using words. I'll begin with this word, Larry. It tells us the boy's name, so I call it a naming word. A person's name, even your own name, is a special kind of naming word. It starts with a capital letter. Many other naming words, for instance, some words I'll use to tell about Larry, don't begin with capitals. Of course, you already know Larry is a boy. Boy is another naming word for him. And did you know that Larry has a sister, and that he is her brother? And here's Larry's father. Larry is his son. That's another naming word. To the boys Larry plays baseball with, he's a pitcher. And to those he plays football with, he's a halfback. You see, these are all naming words for a person, Larry. And there are also naming words for places and things. For instance, the clothes Larry wears are things. A cap, a shirt, and a jacket. With these naming words, I've let you know what Larry sometimes wears. Now I want to let you know about some of the things Larry does. And to do it, I'll use another kind of word. Larry sits. He reads. He laughs. He points. He hops. I call these words doing words. They don't name people, places, or things, but they tell about actions, what someone or something is doing. I can let you know more about Larry by using doing words along with naming words. For instance, Larry runs. Larry is a naming word. It tells part of an idea. Runs is a doing word. It tells another part of the idea. The two words together tell the whole idea, and other naming and doing words go together in the same way. For instance, you remember Larry is a halfback. That's a naming word. A halfback kicks. He sometimes throws. And once in a while, he even falls. Each of these doing words is an action word that goes with the naming word, halfback, to tell an idea. Remember, a short time ago, you knew nothing about Larry. Now, by using words that name and words that do, I've let you know quite a lot about him, about what he likes to do, and even something about his family. And there are some other things I can let you know about Larry and about these two kinds of words. For instance, here is where Larry lives. Here is his bed. That's a naming word. And here is his football, another naming word. And here are his toys, still another naming word. But wait, this naming word is different from others we've seen. It ends with the letter S. S added to the naming word lets you know that Larry has more than one toy. I'd also like you to know that Larry has more than one book. He has books. And he has more than one car. He has cars. So when I use naming words to tell about more than one person, place, or thing, I usually add the letter S to the ends of the naming words. This rule doesn't work for all naming words, but it works for most of them. Now I've told you about things Larry has by using naming words. And I'd like to tell you what Larry does with his things, using doing words. For instance, Larry has taken a game out, and he plays. Plays is a doing word. Now Larry has a car, and he rolls its wheels. Rolls is also a doing word. Have you noticed that both these doing words end with the letter S? When doing words end with S, it usually means that one person or thing is doing something right now. And now Larry is picking up his football. Punts is a good doing word to use about a football. But even though Larry doesn't do that in the house, he remembers that yesterday in a game, he punted. Punted. This doing word tells about something that happened a while ago, and it ends with ED. Many doing words about things that happened a while ago end with ED. For instance, if Larry were to put his boat into the water now, I would say he sails it. But if he did it yesterday or last week, I would say he sailed the boat. Since he did it a while ago, the doing word ends with ED. So to tell you about things Larry did a while ago in the past, I sometimes can add ED. So I can use naming words to tell about one person, place, or thing, a toy, or more than one person, place, or thing, toys. And I can use doing words to tell about things Larry does now, plays, or things he did a while ago, played. And using naming words to tell you about people, places, and things, and doing words to tell you what is happening now, or what happened a while ago, I can let you know about any place Larry may go and anything he may see or do. For instance, Larry's sister sometimes takes him to the zoo. That's a naming word. There, he walks and he looks, doing words. He looks at the kangaroo, a naming word. As it hops, a doing word. He looks at the lion, naming, while it eats, doing. He looks at the monkey as it swings, and the seal as it swims. There is more than one giraffe. There are several giraffes. Remember, naming words that end with S tell about more than one person, place, or thing. And here is a bear who sometimes growls. He's not doing it now, but the last time Larry was at the zoo, the bear growled. The doing word ends with ED because it happened a while ago. With other naming and doing words, I can tell you many more things about what Larry does and the places he goes. Did you notice goes is even a doing word? And Larry goes to school. He goes to the store. And the theater. And once in a while he goes to the airport. The names of all these places are naming words. At all these places, Larry learns, shops, eats, and sometimes he looks, doing words. Using naming words and doing words, I've told you quite a lot about Larry and the things he does. And listening to me, you may have come to know him pretty well. Maybe there's something you want to let others know about. A place, a person, or a thing. And maybe you can do it by putting naming and doing words together. I've told you my thoughts about Larry, a boy you didn't know anything about a while ago. And you can tell your thoughts to people using words that name and do.
Yeah, Sean. No, wait, it's Brian. Said skip is a naming word. Showing films is a doing word. Skip is also a doing word, which is kind of great when I see a lot of little boxes that have skip this, skip ad, skip intro, skip. I'm like, oh, I want to see the skip intro. Like, oh, I want to see the ads for Skip. Yeah, anyways. There's that. Okay, so behind me I have a film scanner. Whoop. And this is going to tell us a lot about the world that we live in. Sometimes we wonder, like, what type of world am I living in? And this film will answer that question for you. Enjoy.
Something is happening to this world. Something is making the world more colorful, safer, easier to understand. What's happening? Screen printing. In the last 10 years, the ancient art of screen printing has been rediscovered, perfected, and polished. Today, it is one of the most modern, efficient, and fastest growing of all printing methods. It has more applications than you can count, and a new one is being developed every day. Like this globe, it's paper and plastic. It's bright, clear, and exact. It's a screen-printed world. Today, screen printing is a vast and sophisticated industry, using some of the most modern equipment and technique in the world. But the basic elements of screen printing have remained unchanged for centuries. There are 5 basic elements found in every screen printing method: the frame, the screen, the blockout material, the ink, and the squeegee. Early screen printing used silk, a highly porous fabric, stretched on wooden frames. Part of the screen was blocked out by paper or shellac. Ink was poured over the screen and forced through the mesh with a squeegee. the ink passed through only the open portion of the screen mesh, printing the design on the material. Screen printing is the only method that prints through the plate instead of from the plate. This gives screen printing its unique capabilities. Screen printing, like all other forms of printing, came about as the result of a need, the need to communicate. Today, screen printing can mass produce a wide variety of images on almost any type of surface. Flat or three-dimensional, smooth or rough, large or small. Because the technique is so versatile and its possibilities unlimited, its uses are bounded only by imagination. The requirements may be decoration, information, distinction, extreme precision, or fabrication. In almost every case, screen printing can do the job once thought impossible or impractical. The best way to show you how the screen printing industry has grown is to take you through a company responsible for many major developments in inks, supplies, and equipment. The Advanced Process Supply Company is headquartered in Chicago. While the industry has grown, the basic elements remain the same. You start with a frame, rigid enough to keep the screen mesh taut, but light enough to permit easy handling. The materials may be wood, metal, or a combination of the two. The screen mesh is stretched over the frame. A uniformly stretched screen mesh is most important for sharp, accurate reproduction. While silk is still being used today, the term silk screen process has given way to simply screen printing. While early frames were limited in size, a modern frame will print a watch dial or a billboard. Today's screen printer can select from a wide variety of screen meshes: silk, organdy, Dacron, nylon, polyester, and stainless steel metal mesh. The squeegee can make all the difference between truly professional screen printing and just pushing ink through the screen. Whether it's a modern electronic circuit board, or a common paper sign, a soda pop bottle, or a 55-gallon drum, the requirements are the same: precise registration and sharp, well-defined lines. Screen printing is the one technique that can do both. The tools, however, remain the same. There are many types of squeegees, and each type comes in many different shapes and sizes. There are squeegees for hand printing, and squeegees for machine printing. Another consideration in selecting the squeegee is its composition and degree of hardness. The oldest form of screen making is the hand-cut stencil. This method is still used today on large posters and banners, but the majority of screen making is now done photographically. In many instances, the art of hand cutting is used in combination with photographic screen making. There are two methods of preparing photo screens: indirect and direct. In the indirect method, a photosensitive film is exposed, developed, and then applied to the screen mesh. In the direct method, a photosensitive coating is applied to the screen mesh. There are two exposure techniques in photo screen making. One is placing a transparent positive in contact with the screen. The sensitive screen is then exposed and developed. The screen now becomes the printing plate. The other technique is projecting the positive onto the photosensitive coating. In both cases, the principle remains the same. Light passes through the clear areas of the positive, exposing or hardening the photosensitive coating on the screen. When the screen is washed out, the unexposed areas wash away, leaving open mesh. During printing, ink will pass through the open mesh, reproducing the image on the material beneath. The photo screen technique is the ultimate in fine reproduction. The most important part of screen printing is choosing the right ink. Ink is not just ink. Today there are 1,000 different jobs to be done, and each one requires the right ink. Different inks are blended for different surfaces. Some inks have to be fast drying, and others have to withstand outdoor weather conditions. They may have to be completely transparent or completely opaque, thick or thin deposit, high gloss or flat. There are inks that stretch and inks that are fused to the surface. Screen printing inks must meet rigid requirements. They must adhere to all types of surfaces: paper, wood, metal, plastics, cloth, glass, and even human skin. The inks must not clog or run through the screen fabric, and must not destroy the printing plate. Regardless of the function, each ink must go through a series of quality control checks to guarantee uniformity to meet the specifications. Test samples are run as a final check of the ink's performance on a particular surface. So you see, screen printing has everything going for it. It uses inks that no other printing method can handle. And in addition to a wide variety of colors, including fluorescent inks, screen printing can recreate a multitude of textured surfaces. Imitation canvas and leatherette, conductive and insulated coatings for printed electronic circuits, special metallic colored inks, glitter and flocking. Inks have come a long way, and so has the screen printing press. While screen printing is still done by hand, today there are automatic presses that can print 6,000 impressions per hour. There are screen printers for flat surfaces and three-dimensional objects. The presses used in screen printing range in size and complexity from the simple hand press to the completely automatic press. The elements of screen printing have remained the same. You still need a frame, a screen, the blockout material, the ink, and a squeegee. For complete success, however, proper drying is as important as quality printing. The old method of hanging up sheets so they don't touch one another works well for short runs. But industrial screen printing jobs often run into the hundreds of thousands of impressions. Modern drying systems dry efficiently and can keep up with the latest presses. Because space and time is limited, open air drying is inefficient. Other dryers have been designed for three-dimensional and odd-shaped objects. Paper, board, and plastics require low-temperature dryers, while glass, textiles, and electronic parts require higher-temperature dryers. The choice of a dryer depends upon the job to be done. The world of screen printing. Starting with a very simple and ancient process, it has expanded into an entire field that encompasses many industries. From the simple frame and silk screen came an array of modern materials, inks, supplies, and equipment to serve the screen printer. Screen printing can print on almost every conceivable type of surface. Screen printing can print on any kind of shape. flat or spherical, cylindrical or multi-shaped, small or large. Yes, it's truly a screen-printed world everywhere you look. And Advanced Process Supply Company is the largest manufacturer of supplies, inks, and equipment to the commercial and industrial screen printers all around the world. Advance has helped solve printing and packaging problems in every industry, from the poster printer to the bottle decorator, from the local screen printer to worldwide companies like General Electric, Ford Motor, and Container Corporation of America. For 20 years, Advance has offered a wide range of exclusive products and services through their branches and distributors located in major cities in the United States and Canada. Whatever your needs, Advance can supply you with everything from a quart of ink to a completely automatic printing line, from a simple wooden frame to a complete screen-making department. You are always welcome to visit Advance and see their in-action showrooms. Now, our world could use a little more color and a little more beauty, and Advance is helping it look a little better. They're helping it become a screen-printed world.
Besides the super hip soundtrack and the bongos, I love a niche sponsored film, and that's what this was. Sponsored film being a film that is basically a advertisement, but it also gives you some information. And so this made it to Northern Iowa University, which meant that they probably had, I'm not sure why they had it. Maybe they had screen printing classes. I certainly took screen printing classes. I had a little screen printing setup. I have friends that have screen printing setups. So, pretty awesome. All right, where are we? Let's learn about inheriting your physical traits. Enjoy.
This young monkey looks a lot like its mother. And this colt looks like its mother. Young animals usually look like their parents, but not in every detail. Children, too, usually resemble their parents, but not exactly. The physical characteristics or traits you inherited from your parents were transmitted from your mother through a tiny egg cell and from your father through a smaller sperm cell. Both were smaller than the tip of a needle. When the sperm cell joined the egg cell, they formed a fertilized egg. The fertilized egg contained all the genetic information that eventually became you. Every person on Earth began this way, from a tiny, almost invisible speck of living matter. Locked inside the fertilized egg were the tiny chromosomes containing the genetic material you inherited from your parents. Most of the chromosomes contributed by your mother could be matched with similar chromosomes contributed by your father. 46 chromosomes, that's all. So small they can be seen only with a powerful microscope. And they carried the genetic material that determined your physical traits. The color of your eyes and skin, the shape of your nose and mouth, your face, height, weight, sex, all of the physical traits that make you, you, are controlled by those 46 chromosomes. A single pair determined your sex. One chromosome from your father and one from your mother. Your mother contributed one of 2 sex chromosomes. Both of these chromosomes are of the type called X. Your father could contribute either an X chromosome or a smaller one of a type called Y. If he gave an X chromosome, you became a female. If he gave a Y chromosome, you became a male. So the chromosome from the father determines the sex of the offspring. Your 46 chromosomes determine not only your sex, but most of your other physical traits. Since you received half your chromosomes from your father and half from your mother, why don't you look as much like one parent as the other? Why don't some people look more like their mother and some more like their father? And why do some resemble neither parent but look like a grandparent? The answer lies within the chromosomes. In the chromosomes are the genes which control the inheritance of various physical traits. Most of the genes found in the chromosomes of your father can be matched with similar genes from the chromosomes of your mother. Scientists believe that many traits are determined by one pair of genes, but more often, by several pairs together. When a trait is determined by just one pair, often each gene is either dominant or recessive. This means that one gene, the dominant, will hide or mask the effect of the recessive gene. Of a pair of genes causing eye color, the gene for brown is dominant. The gene for blue is recessive. Suppose one parent gave you a gene for blue eyes and the other one for brown eyes. What color eyes would you have? The dominant brown-eyed gene would hide or mask the other, and you'd have brown eyes. Can you have blue eyes if your parents have brown eyes? Yes. If both of them had a dominant brown gene and a recessive blue gene, each parent would still have brown eyes. In sexual reproduction, they might each give you their recessive blue gene. This pair of recessive blue genes would give you blue eyes. Earlier, we were wondering why sometimes we may look more like one parent than the other. Do you know a possible reason now? Because the genes you inherited from one parent affected your appearance more. Why do some people resemble neither parent? Their inheritance may reflect the characteristics of a grandparent or other ancestor. Some pairs of genes determining traits are not dominant and recessive. Instead, some interact to produce a blend between two individuals. For example, when a zebra is mated with a donkey, the offspring is a zebronchi, a blend of its mother and father. You may have a tall father and a short mother and grow to be midway between their heights. Sometimes the genes for height interact to produce an individual whose height may range somewhere between the two parents. So we've seen that genes can carry dominant traits, recessive traits, or, as with this offspring, traits that produce a blend. In recent years, scientists have made remarkable progress in understanding chromosomes and genes. They've learned a great deal about the molecular structure of DNA, the main component of each gene. Yet there's still much to be learned about genes and chromosomes. Many questions remain unanswered. Is intelligence inherited? Can we increase it by knowing more about genes? Are artistic talents passed through the genes, or are they learned? Are musical talents inherited from musical parents or other ancestors? Can we learn the composition of genes well enough to one day prevent physical deformities? Scientists are only beginning to answer some of these questions. All of the animals on the earth pass on their physical traits from parents to offspring. Yet, every offspring is unique, a little different from its parents and from all its other ancestors. You too may look like your parents, but you are also special. No other person on earth has your exact physical characteristics. You began as a single speck of matter containing thousands of genes, and from these genes you inherited the physical traits you have today. Millions and millions of generations of men have lived on the earth. Millions of children have been born and grew into adults and had children, who had children, who had children. Each time, two people united and passed on part of themselves to their children. Each time, two cells came together to form a tiny bit of living matter. 46 chromosomes. One unique human being. Generation after generation after generation. All of these people contributed to the final genetic combination that makes you, you. This is your gift from the past.
So two things from that film. One, a Zabronchi. That's the first time I've ever heard that. A Zabronchi. Not a Donkbra. Yeah, and there's a lot of bongos today. Very excited. That was not planned. That was completely serendipitous. But yeah, I'd love to have a bongo soundtrack life some days. Just kind of keep me going. And the other thing is two people unite. That is a wonderful euphemism. You're uniting. Those people united, and that's how you became you. United. All right. Again, that makes that airline kind of more interesting. All right, got another film on the scanner, and this one we're going to get a little meta. This is learning with film and video. Love to hear me type. All right, here we go. Enjoy.
The student population in our schools gets more and more diverse. There needs, therefore, to be some kind of common focus, some way to bring all of these individual differences to bear so that they can come together for learning. Society expects us to teach these young children to solve problems, to be creative, to be, to a large degree, independent thinkers, to be parents, to be workers, to be citizens. If we are going to get these things, we must provide the tools. Any business seeking to get good work from its workers provides them with the necessary tools. The classroom is where all of our expectations for schooling come together. Here is where we expect youngsters to learn to read, to spell, to write, and to figure. Creative teachers try to meet these demands with a whole variety of instructional materials. But we must begin with some kind of common experience with which all of these children can identify.
All right, there you're seeing the roots, and the H2O, the water, is going to go from the roots up the stem, and it's going to go all the way to the leaves. And the leaves are the place, just like you have on your sheet, leaves are the place where sugar is made. There it goes, up, 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 up it goes, up to the stem. In teaching science, films can explain what the kids have been doing. They tie in what the hands-on stuff means. Really seeing the motion really gets the point across.
After I watch films, I go and do the other things. Like if the film has like a science project, I go try it out and see if it really works and how it works.
I teach some pretty sophisticated concepts to these elementary children. And they can talk to you about atoms, they can talk to you about molecules. But I really cannot show it in the classroom. It would be difficult for me to explain what's really going on without the use of a film.
Film is a kind of media that really pulls a fascination from each of the kids that I don't think any other media has. It enhances everything that I'm doing in my class. It's a dimension of really being there, of really experiencing things. Seeing people from another country, in another culture, seeing their habits, seeing their occupation, how they work together. All of those things add so much to a child's understanding, not just of their own culture, but of the world around us. One of the things that I really enjoy doing with films is the discussions that follow, where I will have the children explore their own situations and compare it to those things that they have seen in the film, and it works out just terrific.
They were very dedicated to what they were doing. They didn't stop their work and start doing something else. They kept on the job no matter how difficult it was.
Yes.
Sometimes some jobs
helped the success of other jobs. For example, the person who made the buckets to carry the fish in, if he didn't make it, they wouldn't be able to carry the fish.
Good. Anything else that you noticed that where one group of people or a particular person depended on somebody else? Yes.
Their small crew that they had on the boat couldn't have brought the boat in all by themselves without having the town come in and help them bring it in.
Anybody else? Yes.
Even though the man was reading his newspaper at night, when the woman was folding it and stuff, he would still cooperate.
Film adds a dimension that is not covered anywhere else.
I spend most of my day teaching 7th graders world history and geography, and I find that students are so ethnocentric, so unwilling to accept the values of other cultures, that the easiest way for me to introduce those cultures into the classroom is through the use of films. And so I was able to take the students out of this cultural feeling they had that these people are strange or weird, as they would put it, and into thinking about how people adapt and use an environment that they are in, and that environment causes some differences among people, but that we're really basically very much the same.
Well, as a teacher, I think we need as many modes as possible to work with students because you have different learners. You have some that learn by picking up a book and reading it on their own. You have others that learn better by hearing. You have some that are kinesthetic learners and some that are strictly visual learners. And I think a film is wonderful to use in a classroom because it takes advantage of at least two of these modes of learning, the audio and the visual at the same time.
As a librarian, I use every kind of stimulus available. I like to use films because in films, everyone is equal. It doesn't depend on anyone's reading ability. They bring all of their experience to the films, and then the films increase the experiences that they have culturally, nationally, in science, in stories, in poetry. It just builds and builds and builds.
The books do come off the shelves, not only the books that deal with the film, but books that relate to that film.
People think that back to basics means that you have to get away from AV, and that's not so. It means maybe you drop needlepoint 101, but using media can bring students back to the basics of reading and writing and math, and can make the experience a more pleasant one for them so that they're more turned on to learning in general, and it can make it easier. It can enhance the whole teaching process.
The cone is full of useful mathematical shapes. Slice it again.
I remember trying to get the concept into the child's head that multiplication was really just addition. Once that film came on and showed 5 bright green sets with 3 black dots in each, and some little elf came around and counted them, every child in that room understood it. Every child was focused in and listening.
Teaching junior high school children, by the very nature of their age, they have a lot of nervous energy, and they're always busy. All right, class, your attention, please. Now, when we turn this on, I want you to make some notes. All students cannot follow directions well. All students cannot read at the same rate. But through film, students can relate to what's happening. There's movement, there's color, there's sound, there's music.
Not long ago,
And most importantly, the educational value is usually very good.
Seen through our telescopes. But through the electronic eyes of spacecraft, they have become known worlds.
Obviously, we cannot see the planets the way we can see them through films. The student cannot get an appreciation for the vastness, cannot understand or fully appreciate the solar system by me lecturing or by reading about it.
In science, there are many things that films can bring us that nothing else really can in a typical public school classroom. The films that have been made with electron microscopes, the oceanographic films with underwater cameras.
A lot of the geological processes, erosion, weather cycles, and again, it takes them right to the place. It's a class trip without having to go anywhere.
Let's take a look at foreshadowing. What did you physically experience in the film that told you there was foreshadowing happening? Allie.
When they were tying the noose around his neck, it made the whole audience. I was sitting there and I felt for him. I felt, uh-oh.
In preparing a class for the film experience, I asked the students to relate the literature that they have read to the film. So they should be able to find examples of exposition, whether it's through dialogue or description. They should be able to find examples of coincidence, foreshadowing, irony. They should be able to tell whether the story is being told objectively or subjectively by looking at the screen. That means that they have to watch carefully. Just as if they were doing close reading on a story, they have to watch carefully.
When you're watching it, you're hoping that it might really be reality, that things might be going his way and that it's not a dream and he's not just thinking it, that he's really going to get away and he's really going to get to live.
When the guns missed him and he went on down the waterfall and everything, it was as if you wanted him to succeed.
How is what is up on the screen shown in the story?
I noticed how, like when he was going down the stream, there was no marks on his neck. And then as he started running, the marks started showing, and then as he was getting closer to his wife, the marks were like really standing out.
Which might indicate what?
Which would indicate that the rope around his neck was getting tighter.
It seems as though it was like a rough way to heaven or something, because it was all like in shaped domes, and then the gates just opened for him like you suppose you walk on clouds or whatever to get to heaven, and well, he just walked through grass, and then everything's like a whole fairy tale land or something, everything that he's ever really wanted.
What does that do for the audience at that very moment? The irony situation in Owl Creek Bridge works extremely well. The students never expect that kind of ending, and they are interested in seeing, once they have read the story, how the filmmaker is going to get that jolt at the very end across to his audience. And the jolt is always equal to the first time that they have read the story when they see the film. If anyone's concerned about the effect of film on children, this is definitely not popcorn time. They are engaged by it, they're excited by it, they're thrilled by seeing the literature come to life.
Face it, students skip over the descriptive passages many times. They don't understand the significance of that. And the tone, that's very hard to understand, and the tone of a work is usually carried over into the film.
The emotional impact of a film in a history class cannot really be overstated or understated. It's just simply important for the students to sit there and see on the screen history unfolding.
As history teachers, that's our job, is to introduce kids, especially junior high school kids who have their mind on a million other things, to think about the past, which is almost contrary to the basic nature of human beings at the age of 13 or 14.
I find that with many of my students, they seem to think that they've seen everything and done everything, and they just sort of have a couldn't care less attitude oftentimes, and by showing them a film, it really does make them care.
Delta 19 to Weather Center. Our position is now 90 miles at 2:13. Request you hold back the snow 1 hour.
Roger, 19. This is the International Weather Center. Here are the immediate plans for North America. We're letting it stay sunny for the remainder of today, but clouds will be seeded at 3 tomorrow afternoon Eastern Time, and there'll be fine rain for 40 minutes.
It's like, who has the right to control it's going to rain for 40 minutes today, and it's going to be 90-degree weather tomorrow, and it's going to snow over here, and all of this stuff. I didn't like that at all, and I don't think that it's normal because it just throws it all off.
Okay.
I disagree with Erica because as far as the weather control goes, it would be better to populate more areas. Like in the Sahara, there's no weather, and with weather control, you can probably put the clouds here or put it there.
Many of the students will go with the film, and I can develop it with them in such a way that we can get into far more intellectual discussion after having just seen a film than we could ever have done with just a textbook or something that I might have said.
Whereas we need to develop their literacy more extensively, I think we need to also make use of the strengths that they have, which are a certain visual sophistication that perhaps my generation didn't have.
Once you've used
a film or a video, and then you take them from that to verbalizing the concept. You've helped them to clarify in their own mind. You've helped them to focus in on things.
If our goal is to have children who are reading, thinking adults, we should use everything that we have.
There's no way I can be as interesting as a film every day. Perhaps I might hit it 5 minutes a day, being as dynamic as a film, but a film is probably the best teaching tool for the children of the 80s.
In order to do what we expect them to do, teachers use everything that they think will be useful to the task. But creative teachers have also discovered that they can do things with visual media not otherwise possible. They can provide a focal point for diverse groups of youngsters brought together in the classroom. They can transcend the peer culture, for example, at the high school level, in order to get youngsters more interested in what the school is trying to do. And they can take youngsters beyond the four walls of the classroom to provide them with experiences not otherwise possible. Once purchased, a film can be used over and over. The equipment can be used over and over. If we want to keep creative teachers in the classroom doing the job we expect of them, we must give them the kinds of tools they need.
Credit the films at the end? Oh yeah, whatever. Come on. Yeah, I want to know what that weather controlling film was. I mean, obviously the black and white film was Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, which was awesome. It's an amazing film if you have not seen it. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's a French version. Has kind of a spaghetti western feel to it, but it is definitely all right, hold on. Okay. Sorry. There's a tension issue with the motors, and it's obviously having problems, so I don't want to stress it out. Anyhow, yeah, so that film made in 1985 by the Friends of the Audiovisual Education. What? Who's that? And that is probably just 6 or 7 years before I started collecting films, is when that film came out. So, yeah, it's a strong, compelling reason why film and video is very useful as an educational tool, and why there are so many of them out there, and why I have 37,000 that I like to show you. Thank you, Kevin, for the donation. You donated via the Super Thanks button. You can support us by doing that, or by hitting the thumbs up, the like. There's a notification bell you can hit. It's funny, like, I've been watching other channels, and different people have kind of set things that they play at the end. I don't know. I don't necessarily... I like to talk to you, and I like to say goodbye, and especially talk about upcoming things. So, not doing that. What else? You can also support us by going to ko-fi.com/avgeeks, patreon.com/avgeeks. There are links right there. Those are ways to financially support us. I'm thinking of starting probably an Amazon wish list, because there's a lot of supplies that we are trying to amass. And also, today was our 994th episode. So next week's going to be our 1000th episode, and we're going to celebrate on that Saturday, the 23rd, by having a 1,000-minute show, which is roughly 16 hours and 40 minutes, I think. So it starts at 9 in the morning and goes all the way to the wee hours of the 24th. So hopefully you will join us. That is also will be a fundraiser for us to try to raise money to buy shelving. We have a lot of shelving that we need. And what we're doing is we're kind of moving things out of the bad places here at the archive that are not climate controlled, and trying to put them somewhere that will be better climate controlled. And the idea will be that we will fix up the basement so that it is moisture and climate controlled and better for the films. And so buying a shelf will allow you some certain bragging rights, which I'm putting together right now. But yes, anyways, what else is going on? It's early, but January 16th, I'm doing a show at the Alamo Drafthouse in a theater, and you can buy tickets now. So do that. It's the name of the show is 1970s Creep Machine, and it's films about creeps. So, and films in hindsight that is creepy. Those are the two types of films we'll be watching. All right, thanks for tuning in today. Very much appreciate your eyeballs and learning new words together like Zabronki. We should have a AV AV Geeks vocabulary test at some point. Yeah, if I have maybe in the new year we'll do that. But everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon. Take care. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and we'll be back with even more films.